Traders, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be doing a deep dive review on AMC stock, the long-term viewpoint over the next 4 to 5 months, and how I see them moving, because I think things are changing right now, and I think the community is getting very set on a very short-term move happening very quickly. Now, I think you need to take a step back and look at the big picture and look at these key factors we're going to talk about here in the video. Like, subscribe, do what you're going to do. Let's get to it.
I got no drip in my pocket.
All right, so just want to highlight this again. If you're new to the channel, you've seen me cover this. Now, Powell is in particular the reason stocks came crashing down this past week. Even with the news of variants coming out on, COVID, that wasn't really a cause for concern to push AMC down. I do believe it was inflation concerns and how the whole stock market as a whole came tumbling. Now, we're going to get into how some stocks are moving, how the indexes are moving, and why it looks like a balance is upon us. But there's a few things you need to take into consideration. CEOs of the biggest companies are selling billions and billions of dollars worth of stock. And right now, it's just an overall sell-off of the entire market with a little bit of fear of inflation, and then as well as just a combination of all the bad news being released. So the fact that AMC is dipping isn't the worst news possible. I'm going to go over the charts and say where I think key levels are, where we need to hold, how we need to move, things like that. But I want that to be stated first before we get too far into anything, because I think people are saying it's just sheer manipulation what's going on, which there is some manipulation. I am totally on that side, but you have to acknowledge that stocks as a whole are just getting railed. It's stocks across the board, not just AMC. So as we look at the chart, I want to talk about the massive channel that I do believe we are currently sitting in, right? We have this massive channel that we're sitting in. Now, this is the key support that I mentioned in yesterday's video. You had a lot of people asking questions about that. It just retains back to the level that I wanted us to break back when we first broke it back in May and June, right? It was at 25 to 26.5 region of support. You can see this was back in 2016 when this support and resistance was made, and that's when we broke it back here. Anyways, so zooming into where we're at now, we're reacting very well to that. Now, when I go and show you the Nasdaq chart and some of the indexes, this is going to line up pretty much perfectly in my opinion. Now, I want to highlight what I'm saying about the short-term viewpoint of getting a quick move and why I don't necessarily think that you need that right now. Now, would it be cool if AMC went to $200 on Monday? It'd be awesome. I'd make a lot of money. We'd all be happy. We'd sing Kumbaya, and it'd be a great year. It'd be a great start for the year probably too. So looking at that, I don't think you need to get an immediate push, right? And I don't want people to suspect that you're going to get some type of immediate push, right? So looking at where we're at, how we're moving now, I do believe this needs to be the bottom. I was calling for the last time to be the bottom around when we hit the 20, or I think it was 29 back in August, right? So I was suspecting that to be the bottom. But in my opinion, since you're getting so much fear with inflation, things could possibly change and stocks could just come crushing down. But as you're moving now, in my opinion, I think it looks great. I know I just said that like 4 times. I think this does look great. Now, I was watching some videos, watching and listening to how the community is talking, and people were saying, well, when one hedge fund covers, and they're all gonna have to cover, and it's gonna be a ladder attack and just pushing you up, right? Now, along this way, in the past few months, smaller hedge funds have had to cover. It's been in the news. It's been made clear. They disclosed it. Some have covered. You've gotten pushes up to 52 and things like that. And people were saying in the past, when one of them covers, then they're all going to start flowing in, and it's going to be this parabolic effect. Well, I'm sorry, and I'm not being a bear. I'm just saying, even with some hedge funds covering 2 to 3 of the smaller funds covering, you never got that breakout, right? So you need to be kind of a perfect storm with options, overall flow, buying pressure continuing, the borrow fee going up as well, things like that. You're going to need just an accumulation of things like you had back here, right? So looking at this, yeah, you have some downside, but I love this support where you're at. That's why I personally have my options in this, and that's why I have options going into next week and things like that. But I just want people to understand, before I get into the last part of the video, that in my opinion, you're sitting in such a great place that you don't even need it to happen right now. Because when I start going over the second part of the video, this is kind of the end game, if you will. It's not about fractals and Wyckoff, and I do believe those things have their place in trading. I do. But I think with AMC, when you take a step back, you don't even look at the chart. which I use the chart and I use it in every video because I do actively trade it. But if you're just looking at it long term, is this going to push up? Things like that. You don't need the chart based on what we're going to go over in the later part of this video, which I want to get into now. So earnings are where we're going to focus right now. Now, earnings, we've looked at how they performed last earnings. They did beat by almost 7%. Cool. Great. EPS is where we need to keep our focus right now, and was where I want people to keep their eyes on. EPS basically means when you get out of a negative EPS, you're profitable. Now, EPS, when they have parentheses, this is earningwhisperers.com, totally free to use. There's not even a pay option. So looking at this, you can just type in whatever stock and look at their earnings and then go over the report as well. So AMC, this is where we're at. Then they'll go over some of the key factors and usually have all the links for just the whole earnings as well here. So this is my source for earnings, probably the best source that there is. Looking at this, their EPS right here. Now you are negative, so when they're in parentheses here, that means that you are a negative EPS, which means they're technically unprofitable. So what I want to do really quick is just look at the past year and how far we've come. That's all we're going to do for a second. We're going to go back to last November and look at their last earnings that they had when they were in the exact same position we were in right now. Their earnings were 84 million or 119, right? They beat earnings on revenue, but their EPS was a negative $8.41, okay? And let's just keep looking at each earnings from that date. Your next earnings. Your revenue increased a little bit. It increased by 50 million. Still pretty terrible nonetheless, but you did increase, right? You pushed up, right, in March. And your EPS reported, look where it's at, 621. Next earnings. You saw a significant increase, better. You want this number to get smaller as it's negative. Slowly increasing revenue, still terrible. Then this is where it gets more and more and more interesting. August, you're back to about $500 million. Significant increase on revenue. Look at the increase. Almost 300 million over. Actually, right around 300 million increase in revenue. EPS underneath negative $1. The next earnings, the ones we just had, this is where things really shift, in my opinion. You almost double up once again. You go from 444 to 755. Still beating, doubling. So we're seeing this pattern of you're actually becoming or getting close to being profitable, right? And this is where no one's really talking about it, in my opinion. And you're at under negative 50 cents on the EPS. Beginning of the year, this is the expectations as of right now. Negative 20 cents on EPS, over 1.1 billion. This is where we need to talk about what Adam Aaron mentioned and has been talking about with the NFT and things like that, and how I believe this could increase profitability for the company. Now, I do think they're coming in low on both of these numbers, and they're going to because they don't want to miss just based on what's happening with the company right now. And I think as a company, they have to perform well in earnings because they don't have room for dilution anymore. They can't dilute any more stock. Now, maybe they could raise money and it would be a really big hassle, but if it ever goes to a vote with shareholders, they're going to lose anything when it comes to dilution based on who the shareholders are, right? So looking at that, in my opinion, with the NFTs, with things like that, it's not even a dividends question right now. They don't need dividends to become profitable right now. And you can only use dividends when you are profitable. Now, we had the conversation, people talked about the STOs and things like that. They're not going to do that. That's complete nonsense. They're not doing an STO based on the risk associated with that and based on the capital that they have right now. Because going the STO route, it's going to require a lot of legal fees if it becomes a battle and if the SEC doesn't agree with it. That's going to be a lot of money that I don't think AMC has right now. And actually, we can all agree they don't have that money right now. So they are surviving, but now they're getting to the point where they're going to actually start eating, if you will. So they're surviving, barely making enough right now, just getting by, living on the debt. And now going into their next earnings, they have the potential to be making money, start paying off those debts, other things like that. Now, what's big here? If we come out on this earnings and this number becomes a positive finally for the first time in a long time, they could start possibly doing dividends again. Now, I do think it's a little bit of a stretch to become profitable by Q1 in this coming up year. That's a little bit of a stretch. Now, is it possible? I believe it is. Based on what they're doing with the NFTs and things like that. Why I think it's possible with those NFTs is because it's pushing people to the subscription model that we're seeing every company around the world go to. Every company is doing it. Uber is now doing it. Every company that can do it is doing it. Pizza places, your Lyft, Uber, Twitter's doing it. Every social media platform, they're all pushing subscriptions because you want to get a slow, steady increase of revenue while also just pushing out your product that you're already doing. And that's what they're doing here. And the cool thing about AMC's subscription model and why I think it will help them thrive even further is because it will push people to spend more money at the theaters as well, which will increase their revenue, which is why I believe those estimates on the revenue right here will absolutely be beat. I would suspect that they beat it by roughly 15 to 20%. I think it's a bold statement, but I think it's 100% profitable. Now, going into the end of this year, the movies that they're pushing out these NFTs about with The Matrix, and then you have Spider-Man and another Marvel movie as well, I believe, those are going to be the best ones you can push NFTs out on. And there's a reason why Adam Aaron was so excited in those interviews that we just had a few days ago, going over the movies coming out and the overall revenue, because I think people they want this short-term quick fix, get your money right now. And you've been here for almost a year now. It's been a year since we've been making these videos, going over the stock, things like that. And if we had this a year ago, or like we had this back in last January and it was like 3 months and AMC is going to be profitable, could you imagine where you would be sitting and how you'd be feeling? In my opinion, this dip, great opportunity for options, for shares, whatever you're doing. I know people in the Discord are going crazy buying shares, buying options, things like that. Know your risk, know what you're putting on the table. But right now, this is the best opportunity you have on AMC, in my opinion, with everything going on. Now, it was a perfect storm for this dip, and I've already stated that you might not get that gamma type squeeze in December that we were looking for and that I was counting on, just based on the perfect storm of just terrible news coming out. It's crappy. You can't predict it. It sucks. You're going to be wrong sometimes. I was wrong. Happens to the best of us. But in my opinion, with everything happening, everything setting up, this is the most bullish on AMC you have ever been. That wasn't even from a fundamental standpoint back here. This wasn't. This was just from the borrow fees, days to cover, utilization, and things like that. The big positions are still here. The big short positions are still here. The little hedge funds, some of them have already been cut out. So that's when people are saying the little hedge funds need to cover and it's going to push you to the moon. That's nonsense. Total nonsense. That does not have to push you. It could help push you, but it does not have to push you over key levels. Nonsense. They haven't been here long enough. They don't understand how the stock moves. They don't understand the market cap. They don't understand where these options are at. They're not looking at the factors that are actually going to push you, right? This is not your basic stock, okay? This is not every other stock out there. It moves differently, and it's going to take a lot to get these big numbers out of there. That's what I've been saying. These guys have billions upon billions upon billions. You're going against the best pound-for-pound heavyweight out there right now. I'm just saying, you got to respect Citadel and what they're doing and how much money they have. And I'm not going to just tell you nonsense to let you believe that we're going to $3,000 tomorrow. That's not what I'm going to tell you guys. I'm going to tell you and shoot you straight every time. But in my opinion, this is the most bullish you've ever been. So when it comes to shares, I think there's zero cause for concern. When it comes to options, you have to be careful. So those short-dated for all the money options, you're probably going to get screwed on. However, there is a huge potential for payout. A lot of people made a lot of money on AMC in the first run. I was one of those people. I made a lot of money. People in the Discord, they made a lot of money. And if you're watching this, I think you're going to have another opportunity to make a lot of money here. But in my opinion, I don't think you need a short, quick move over the next 3 weeks. And right now, I kind of don't expect a huge gap up going into 3 weeks. I don't expect it, to be honest, based on just the levels that we recently lost. However, I do believe the short term you can make money because it's going to be volatile. But what I will say, though, is this is the opportunity of a lifetime, in my opinion. And if Powell comes out Monday saying the stocks are going to tank and inflation's here and Biden gets coronavirus and, Kamala becomes president. I don't know. Even if we dip, it's still one of the best opportunities because the shorts are going to keep adding to their position and they are becoming profitable as a company with AMC. That's the key part, is that you have never had a fundamental reason to be bullish until now, and now everyone is in a rush to make their money. It's been a year. What's another 4 months if it actually gets you a dividend, if it gets you those key factors that you need to get this thing going crazy? Because right now it's a time game and you're getting really close to the fourth quarter and it's looking really, really good for retail investors here. Okay, so that video was way too long. I'm trying to just reiterate some things that I went over on Twitter the other day. The Twitter link is down below. I'm live on there. I'm posting content all day, every day, literally nonstop. It's absolutely free to you guys. The Discord link is down below as well. I'm live in there Monday through Friday and on the weekends, but more Monday through Friday, going over my trades, Discord talk, everything like that. Literally a voice chat of literally over 100 people every single day talking about live trades they're taking, and then obviously the 800 members that are in there right now as well. So that's where I'm at all day, every day. But I think people need to hear logic and reason right now. This is the best opportunity, in my opinion, that you're going to get on AMC in a while. And if it gets a little bit more of a dip, I have no doubt, in my opinion, that you're going to get another major run up over the next most likely 6 months. It's going to happen if they can turn that profit into the first quarter. If it goes into the second quarter, which is highly possible, that would draw things out a little bit longer from a fundamental standpoint, which you don't necessarily need the fundamentals. The fundamentals are that last leg of defense. If charting, if options, if any type of squeeze doesn't happen before the fundamentals start to push out there, in my opinion, you're at that last leg, you're right there, and this is the opportunity, in my opinion, of a lifetime. I just have to state that, and I had to say this as calmly as possible and provide the evidence above all things else, because I think people are just throwing out random amounts of nonsense, trying to hype you up and get you to buy things and just to get views and things like that. And that's not what I'm trying to do here at all. If you need to unsubscribe. I'm just posting about stuff that I like to post about. The end. So anyways, that's my opinion. If you have questions, comment down below. Have another video tomorrow, maybe even tonight, on some stocks that I'm liking as well. Like, subscribe, do what you gotta do. And remember, we run the market.
Don't got enough to go cop it. I'm about to take off like a rocket. Houston, we might have a problem, but that don't mean money will solve them.